Alright guys, then we're going to take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals roster. We're looking at what else can they upgrade to this roster, obviously through free agency and the draft. But now that free agency has gone a little bit and we've seen some players added, some players let go, we can now take a better look at what this roster is looking like. So obviously, yes, the starting quarterback is Joe Burrow. There is no current backup as Brandon Allen has not been re-signed at this moment in time. So the current backup would be Jake Browning. Now, could they look to add another veteran in free agency? Absolutely. If we go ahead and look over at free agency here, and we go to the quarterback position, this is where they could add any of these players. Very possible. Let me go ahead and move this over. Derek Carr obviously was signed, so let's go ahead and go to available players. And that's where Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, obviously, Teddy B, Mason Rudolph, Joe Flacco, Blaine Blabbard. I know it's Gafford, but we like to call him Blabbard. Chase Daniels, Trevor Siemian, Brian Hoyer, Brandon Allen obviously could come back. Josh Johnson, Nate Sudfeld, Nathan Peterman. All these players could come to the Cincinnati Bengals as a backup for pretty much nothing. Now, I have heard a lot of people say that, listen, if we do get a backup, I want a backup who is good enough to become a starter if Joe Burrow does go down. I don't want Joe Burrow to go down, and then next thing I know, the backup can't get the job done, right? And that's kind of how Bengals fans felt with with Brandon Allen. If Burrow goes down, they know they're going to lose the game with Brandon Allen. So, in that perspective, there is no quarterback here who I feel could come in and become the starter, except for maybe Teddy Bridgewater, and that's obviously, actually probably these three guys, Teddy B, Carson Wentz, and Matt Ryan, but all of them are going to cost way too much money, and it simply is not going to be worth it. So, with that being said, I do project they just bring back Brandon Allen on a very small contract, and that's probably what they're going to kind of look toward, because none of these quarterbacks in the open market right now can be really that guy who can, help you win a game if you're not able to have Joe Burrow, right? So, next thing we have here is going to be running back. We got Joe Mixon on the roster, just re-signed Travion Williams, so that's definitely something. Obviously, he's more of a special teams guy, but at this moment in time, he is the second string running back on this squadron. And if we go over to running back over here, we could see that Zeke is the top of the list, obviously. I've heard a lot of Bengals fans say they don't want Zeke. I don't think Zeke is really that good anymore. I think Zeke is overrated, and I think the Bengals would be better off not going with Zeke. But outside of Zeke, Layoff Lenny just got cut. So they call him Playoff Lenny. He just got cut. So now he's laid off Lenny. Always funny. Kareem Hunt is my favorite player to look at and talk about. Now, it says $7 million is his market value, but we also saw that, the Saints were able to get Jamal Williams for pretty much nothing. And his market value was like $7 million. So they might be able to get Kareem Hunt for absolutely nothing. Currently, the Bengals are sitting at $19 million salary cap, but of course that is prior to a deal with Joe Burrow to get his contract worked out. That's also prior to get T. Higgins' contract extension worked out. But with that being said, though, yes, $7 million, if they can get him, let's say, for example, a 2-year deal for like 2.5 each year, I'm not against the idea of bringing in Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is going to be a really good receiving back out of the backfield and also in between the tackles. He gives the Bengals a very explosive angle to look at without them spending the bank on someone like Austin Eckler, right? So he gives them a really good opportunity to, bring somebody in who could be a solid player. J.D. McKissick is also that guy in the backfield who can catch passes. Mark Ingram's a little bit too old. Rex Burkhead, no. But the next guy I really do like is actually Devonta Foreman. And I talked about him before, and I'll talk about him again because I think he'd be a really solid player. He can come in, his annual salary is $3.4 million, but I know since he could get him for probably like $1 million for 3 years. Like, they can get him for a 3-year contract, $1 million a year. He's not solidified in any way. I mean, he's not like a proven crazy great running back, but he has so much upside. He's young. He could absolutely go out there and just destroy for Cincinnati, and he would be an in-between tackles type of guy, which, in my opinion, would not be bad at all. He's definitely a really solid player. With that being said, though, again, some decent running backs outside of that. Rojo, not even close. I think he's not good at all. You could bring back Bernard, but I just don't think Bernard can stay healthy enough to be on this team. And then you kind of go down the list here to Darrell Williams, old, obviously, Chiefs guy, De'Aaron Johnson, Cleveland Brownies, and then so on and so on. And you're kind of just dropping off the list. So I will say, if you do target running back in free agency, Foreman is the guy I would really like. But in all honesty, I'm probably going to be looking in the draft for one of these guys because the draft is so freaking amazing. And you know what's funny is I'm not even going to be talking about my man's. Guys have been following the channel. You already know I always talk about Tank going to the Cincinnati Bengals. I just love the guy. I think he's a really solid player. I know he wants to play for Cincinnati, so it's like a match made in heaven, really. But even if you go down the list here, Bijan Robinson, I mean, he is available at the 28th pick here. But another guy that a lot of people are talking up, and I honestly do love too, is Gibbs. Gibbs is a really solid running back. Zach Charbonnet is a god-tier running back. Haven't really talked too much about Devon, but he's a really good Texas A&M running back. You already know I love Tank, Dwayne McBride. I think he's a solid gem. Tank, my man, Tank. Imagine having Tank in the backfield. That would be god tier. I haven't talked about Miller too much, but again, he's a solid. Like, look how many solid running backs. Spears, solid running back. Like, you go all the way down here to Muhammad here. All of these running backs are solid running backs the Bengals could take in all 7 rounds. So, like, when I say you do not have to reach for a running back, let alone feel like you must take a running back in free agency, this is why the draft is very good for running back. And you guys have enough picks to really manipulate your way around this draft and, you know, really pick up anyone you want. So, that's that. Running back position already figured out. Right tackle. So this is where Jonah Williams would have been, but Jonah Williams has said that he wanted to play left tackle. He's not a right tackle, and he is not going to be a right tackle. So what that means is Jonah Williams is done. He's being traded to another team. Ian Rappaport came out today and said that, you know, there's a couple teams interested in Jonah Williams. So this will not be a long process before Jonah Williams sees himself on another squad. Now, whatever they end up getting depends on what another team will pay. They have to take on his $12.6 million cap hit. And, of course, that will give Cincinnati another $12.6 million to kind of, use toward other players in free agency. But at this moment in time, Collins is not ready to go to start off the season. He's going to be hurt to start off the season. So that means somebody has to replace him. And at this moment in time on this roster, the only real replacement is going to be Hakeem, my man Hakeem right here. Now, of course, I'm not saying Hakeem is bad or Hakeem can't get the job done. He obviously can. But this is where Cincinnati might be looking to move on from Collins anyway. Right? So that's where we could talk about free agency here. Left tackle, right? We're going right tackle here, obviously, because Orlando Brown is left tackle. We do have a guy, George Fant, who is, let me see his market value, $3.3 million, not really much at all. And all of these guys aren't really worth that much. Billy Turner's going to be cheap. Juwan James, I think he's signed, right? Yeah, he's signed with the no, he's Raven. Oh, yeah, because no. He's the guy who got selected top 10 by the Broncos. Ended up getting, I'm thinking about Juwan Taylor, but he's the one who got signed by the Broncos top 10 and then was hurt for like 3 seasons, then came to the Ravens and hasn't done anything. So I would say no. In all honesty, in free agency, there isn't many good options left for you to target. This is where I would target in the draft is right tackle. DeJuan Jones is a guy we really talked about so much on the channel, and he's a fan favorite of the channel mainly because he's an absolute gem. He is the best right tackle in this draft. If you go down this list here, I mean, you see that the second best is Darnell Wright, and then it kind of drops off because a lot of these guys do want to play left tackle. Antoine Harrison, Matthew Bergeron, they can both play right tackle, but they want to play left. And the reason why is just like Jonah Williams when he got drafted, is it's a $10 million difference playing left tackle to right tackle. So not many people are going to want to kind of, play that position. They don't want to move over to right, get less recognition, and also, get less money. So it's really a sell to have to get a player to move to right tackle. And the top two players on the board, like I said, is DeJuan Jones, and it's going to be Darnell Wright. Now, DeJuan Jones has to be either a first-round pick or an early second, middle second. Cincinnati probably won't get him unless they take him with the first-round pick. With that being said, he could even go earlier because he is the best right tackle on the board, and he is a guy who will play right tackle. So that's something to take into consideration. Now, tight end is another thing. You have no tight end on the board right now on this team. I mean, so now you have to look throughout either free agency or the draft. My personal opinion is, and I say Dalton Schwartz is the guy you want to target. You want to bring in a veteran tight end to really help develop and, work around the new rookie tight ends who are about to come on your team. Because let's be honest, so you signed Dalton Schwartz, right? This tight end class is absolutely amazing. You could take Darnell Washington with the first pick. You could take Josh Weil with a 5th round pick. And you have 2 really solid tight ends. And in all honesty, both of them need to develop a little bit. Darnell Washington is an amazing blocker. He's pretty much a right tackle. He has to develop more into receiving game and vertical threat game. But having a veteran tight end like Dalton Schwartz can teach him how to do that, right? Dalton can say, hey, listen, man, you need to run your routes like this. This is what coach is looking for. This is what coaches like. This is what coaches have told me. Pass the knowledge onto a younger player. And that's why I've said many times I want to see a veteran on this team because that's going to help out, and the same concept goes to Josh. Now, Josh is not a blocker. Josh is more just a guy who's a vertical threat tight end. But still, he could also, really benefit from Dalton Schwartz. Also, Dalton Schwartz, you kind of want to have a starting veteran on the roster, right? He's only 26 years old, so he has plenty of oomph left in him, and he just helps out immensely. So, obviously, that's the tight end group. Rest of the offensive line is fine. I don't think they're going to... Teddy K is going to be fine at center. Kappa will come back from injury. He'll be fine. Leonard Brown will be fine. And Cordell Volson will be fine too. Receiving room, I don't think they're going to really touch. They might draft somebody. They just bought back Trenton Irwin. So I don't think they're really going to too much talk about draft too many players there. But this secondary is where they're going to have to really focus. They just picked up Nick Scott. He is now the starting free safety. I actually thought he was strong safety. He's the starting free safety. Dax Hill is going to be strong safety. So what that means is that they're going to most likely draft somebody. I don't see them picking up anybody else in free agency. I know some people I've talked many times about Taylor Rapp and how much I love Taylor Rapp. But Taylor Rapp, at this moment in time, is not even on here, surprisingly enough. It looks like he might go to the Patriots. He went to the Patriots, went to Cincinnati, left Cincinnati without a contract. The Patriots are currently in open negotiation talk with him. He seemingly has not worked out a contract with the Patriots, but it looks like he'll probably go to the Patriots. I'm not expecting them to go free safety or I know why. It's because he's a free safety. Actually, let me just put in safety altogether. What is his actual position? I know, okay, he's safety. So he is both. He can be free or strong. That's why he's not actually here. And his market value, by the way, in case you guys are wondering, $10 million, you could probably get him for like $3 or $4 million. Nonetheless, though, this is where I probably target in the draft safety position. You're not going to get Brian Branch. Brian Branch is going to go way before the 28th overall pick. So I've talked about many times other players I really love. I do love Sidney Brown. I think he could be a really solid player. But if you go a little bit later in the draft, this is where I love some other guys. So, for example, Ronnie Hickman. He is a freaking stud. He is currently looking, I think, let me see. He's currently looking around the 5th or 6th round pick, right? Get him in the 5th round. He's going to be a stud for you. Quindell Johnson, I've talked about him up and down the wall. He's actually my new guy. He's my new Darnell Washington, right? That I talk about. Because he could be a really solid safety to kind of help out with Nick Scott. Kind of be a 1A, 1B like I wanted Taylor Rapp to be. You know what? No hard feelings. It's okay, Cincy. I see how it is. Anyway, though, he could be that replacement. All right. Eli Apple and Trey Flowers is gone. So what does that mean? Well, most likely, my opinion is, I think both of them will come back. I think they're going to bring both of them back for really cheap contracts. I don't think that we're going to see either of them sign anywhere. Currently, they're both on free agency still, and I just don't see them really signing anywhere because if a team wanted them, they would have gotten them already, right? Absolutely. Eli Apple, I've said many times, there's really no place for him other than Cincy. Nobody's going to want him. And I don't mean that to be like a, douche nozzle here, but at the end of the day, the guy, while he is good in Cincy's system, right, he works out in loose defense very well, he's never been a player, he's been a crazy, amazing player elsewhere. He really made a name for himself and a career for himself in Cincy. So I think he does come back. And also with the other guy, what's his name, Trey Flowers, he is 28 years old, so he's up there in age and cornerback-wise, and I just don't see him going anywhere else either. Again, like I said, I think Cincy will offer him a small deal and say, hey, listen, come back to us, we'll pay you, we'll give you the money, and he'll probably end up back in Cincy if no one else does give him anything. Everything else in this team is fine. Like, I think everyone else on this team is absolutely okay. No problem at all, right? Again, like I said, there's also, areas they could go in the draft when it comes to corners. If they bring back Eli Apple and they do bring back Eli Apple and Trey Flowers, I do not think they take a cornerback in the draft. I do not think they will. If they bring back both of those guys. If they do lose any of those guys, we've talked about many times, Tre'Vius Hodges-Thompson, 4th round pick, really solid cornerback. Eli Ricks, another really solid cornerback from Alabama. I usually don't like Alabama corners. The only productive ones in the NFL has ever been Marlon Humphreys and Dre Kirkpatrick, Raven and Bengal, ironically enough. But other than that, Keely Ringo, another really solid guy from the Georgia Bulldogs. Reason why, by the way, I don't like Alabama corners is because their defensive line is so freaking good. The cornerbacks usually don't have to hold for too long, and they end up, not having to hold for too long, which allows the cornerback to win. And by the way, I don't know why I said 4th round pick. He's a 2nd or 3rd. He's not a 4th round pick. None of these corners. Even Clark Phillips down here is going to be like a 2nd, 3rd round pick. But he could be a really solid player too from Utah. I love him a lot. I love this man right here, Bennett. He's a 5th round pick. I love him a lot. I think he'd be a really solid player. And all the way down to a 7th round pick here. You could see Starling Thomas V go to Cincinnati. So there's a lot of ways they can go in the draft / free agency, right? At this moment in time, though, we're going to have to see what this Joe Burrow contract ends up being, how much this T. Higgins extension ends up being, because there's a lot of things going on and a lot of things need to be figured out. Guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.